Oye, la voz del barrio. Grew up in the barrio. Con el alma de mi gente, sí. Became a storyteller. Y en la sala cuánta historia. De la vida y su memoria. Maestra de corazón. Archivista. Con su pasión. Irma Payan nos da la razón. Irma Payan. De nuestra nación.
Welcome to Arizona Barrio Stories and Latino USA TV. Welcome, welcome. We were on the road. Occasionally, we go out into the community looking for those untold stories that sometimes we have to drag people in, kicking and screaming. Sometimes they're happy to do it. Today, we are happy to be with a special guest. And today, we're at a special location called Poncho's, not to be confused with Ponchos, Poncho's. Before we get started, we have a quick message from attorney Francisco Gutierrez.
This segment brought to you by Gutierrez Law Firm.
Hola mi gente, I'm attorney Francisco Gutierrez and a proud sponsor of Arizona Barrio Stories. I grew up in the Anat Barrio and I've been practicing law now since 1984. Experience really does matter. If you've been injured by someone, call me. Let's talk.
Welcome back. Like I said, we are here in South Phoenix off of Central and Baseline at a place called Poncho's. They have a lot of history, but we hadn't captured it until today. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, it's so nice to be with you. Thank you so much for coming out to our family's restaurant. I'm Amy Vasquez, and so I'm the daughter of one of the owners of Poncho's, George Vasquez. So he and my uncle Ralph are the owners, and my nana and tata, Poncho and Isabel Vasquez, also opened the restaurant with my dad and my uncle over 50 years ago.
So you said a celebration is coming up soon. Wow,
Yes.
That's kind of exciting. Now, I know you're not 50. But tell me a little bit of the history that you've been told, your perspective when you first started, when they throw you into the shark. Give me a little bit of background of the restaurant.
Okay, we do have such a special and rich history here at Poncho's. So I was not quite born yet. I was a twinkle in my parents' eye when they first opened the restaurant. So it was actually my dad and my uncle and my grandparents that opened the takeout restaurant in 1972. So my nana Isabel was a fantastic cook, and she and her sister Socorro, our tia Coin, they would cook up delicious recipes and just serve them out of the takeout. The family actually lived in the home behind, which is where we're sitting right now. But actually it started even before that. So when my dad and my uncle were just little kids growing up here in South Phoenix in this community, they would go to the ball fields and play ball in the sand lots, and they would come home after playing with their team and their buddies from school, and they'd come home and my nana Isabel would have her little pot of refried beans and her little pot of the red and green chili on the stove, and they'd bring their friends over, and everyone always say, they grew up going to school right here in the Roosevelt School District, and their buddies would always say, Miss Vasquez, you need to open up your own restaurant one day. This is so good. And she, at that time, my grandparents, they didn't have the means to do that. So my nana Isabel, she worked in the pickle factory at Arnold's Pickles. My grandfather was super hardworking, and he actually was the forklift driver at Safeway, and they just were good people. They were good to people, and they worked really hard, but so they could make a very humble life for their family. But they didn't have the means to do that, but my nana always dreamed of opening up her own restaurant. So fast forward some years, my dad and my uncle both continued to play baseball, and it was when my dad, he signed a contract to play in the minor leagues, and my uncle was working hard. He was in the insurance business, and so the four of them all pooled their money together, and they were able to open the little takeout that is right here, still here, serving our guests here in South Phoenix. And the family, like I said, lived in the back of the house, and then before long, I mean, the word spread, the love grew for my Nana Sonoran style cooking and recipes, and they moved out of the house and turned it into right here, what is now Poncho's Mexican food. So that's how it all began. And then about 5 years after turning the home into the restaurant, they decided to add on the cantina. So that was in 1977, and that's kind of where I came into the picture, because that's the year that I was born.
Question.
Yes. So there's a picture of the grand opening of the cantina where my mom has a beautiful Mexican dress on with a little bun in the oven, and that was me. My brother was just a couple years old at the time, and so they opened the cantina in '77. And we grew up as a child. We came here, like sometimes on Sundays we'd come here after church and have lunch, and we loved it. They used to have like a little video game. My brother and I would play Pac-Man in the which is so hard to believe, because the waiting room, where people enter the restaurant there, it is a very small area, but we used to have a little video game thing where we could sit like this and play Pac-Man, and we'd always compete with everything. So we loved to do that. And then I remember we would have lunch, and then on the way out, at the hostess stand, they'd have little packs of Lifesavers, butter rum Lifesavers, and little packs of like Double Mint gum and Big Red. And so they'd always give us our candy at the end of our meal if we ate good. But we loved coming down here as kids, and it was always such a feeling of family. And the employees have always just truly been like family. Some of these same employees that were there when I was a kid are still here now, and it's just been such a special place that's always it's just got such a warm, welcoming feeling. And so obviously I grew up and I went to college and things like that. And I started working after I graduated college, I started working for our other family business, Sombreros. And but then in 2020, when COVID happened and everything, my dad asked me to come and help to kind of refresh the restaurant a little bit. Well, that little refresh turned into a full renovation, but the thing that was important to me at the time was to really keep the history and the character of the restaurant, and not change it so much where it doesn't feel like a Poncho's anymore. We wanted to make it very warm and welcoming, but just give it a fresh look. I'm sure you remember there was carpet floors throughout the restaurant. It was like dark red walls, and kind of just like little old school Mexico, which still was wonderful and beautiful, and people loved it. But we kind of just wanted to give it a new, fresh look to welcome people back in at the end of COVID, which was very hard on everyone. We wanted people to know, like, hey, we're still here. We want to welcome you in, and we've got a new, fresh look, but still the same delicious flavors and warm hospitality that people have always enjoyed. So that was very. It was such a special experience for me to get to uncover so much of the history, because that was one of my goals with the kind of the remodel and just the refresh, was to bring out some of the history, because we didn't have a lot of family pictures in there before, but people knew we had been here a long time, but they didn't realize how deeply rooted we were in South Phoenix, and that my dad and my uncle grew up right here on these streets in this neighborhood right here. And so it was really special for me to uncover some of the old pictures and the church that my dad's
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Off of 24th Street, I believe?
In South Mountain
Avenue.
Yes. So that church is still there today. It's not in operation at the moment, but that's kind of our little project that we want to try to bring that back. But it was such a lovely gathering place for so many people in the community for a very long time. So So, but yeah, there's just so much history just from this building, but just, you know, there's so many stories that I've heard, and uncovering so many of these pictures from over the last 50 years was a really special thing for me. And it's been so fun being able to work with my dad and my uncle and learn more as we go, just about just how special this place is.
Back up a little bit. Did your family immerse you, like, say when you were 14, 15, 16, to work in the restaurant? Did you have any odd jobs working within the restaurant?
That's a great question. So no, they didn't. I've been around the restaurant industry my whole life. I think my parents opened, Poncho's was open since I was born, but then they opened Sombreros when I was about 8 years old. And, you know, we grew up going to the restaurant and doing our homework at the table,
but not necessarily working it.
But not necessarily working it until I was in high school. I played sports, and so I didn't have a lot of free time, but I did go and work the lunch hours on Fridays. I always got out early on Fridays at St. Mary's, and I would go to Sombreros on Mill and Baseline, and I would work the lunch hour. And but then it wasn't until later that I got into the restaurant business full time. But I just remember my dad never pushed that on us. I don't think he ever expected.
You didn't have to dress up in a donkey suit or.
Oh, actually, yes. My brother did. I never had to be the donkey, but I was the donkey's sidekick. So my brother would dress up in the summer in this full-on thick furry donkey suit with this big foam head, and he would stand on the corner of Mill and Baseline in Tempe, and I would be wearing the sombrero and just kind of trying to wave people in. And yeah, that was probably one of my first gigs working for the restaurant.
I want to ask you about challenges. You did mention COVID, and how about the big egg challenge when, you know, it was hard to buy egg? Did that affect your restaurant business? And mention the light rail. Has that affected you?
Yes, absolutely. So these have been definitely some big challenges over the years. I feel like we kind of got hit with a double whammy when the light rail construction started in like 2019, and then COVID was 2020, and the light rail was just completed this past June. So it was a long haul.
And you
for
guys
us.
shut down, right?
We did. We shut down in 2020 when the governor shut all restaurants down, but we kept our takeout window open, and that really saved us. But for 2 years, actually, the restaurant part was closed because we were doing the remodel, and we just weren't sure about opening again or not. But then we just the community, like, they just love this place so much, and we just couldn't do that. We couldn't take it away. It was like we weren't ready to be done, you know. We had a lot of good years, but it was like we didn't really feel like it was time to close. And but it was a tough time. We had, like I said, we had the light rail going on, so we were up against a lot of challenges. As you know, prices of everything were so high. Eggs, fuel, and, you know, our vendors, you know, we are so grateful to our vendors, but they had hard times, and they were having to charge extra fuel charges and things like that. So the price of doing business for restaurant owners at the time was really difficult. It was really difficult. But eggs, like you said, you know, we had just added a new breakfast menu to when we reopened, and then the price of eggs was crazy. But you know, we didn't want to raise our prices. Like, I know a lot of people did have to do that. We didn't want to have to raise prices so much, because we know, like, people come here because it's such a good value. People come here to feed their families, and you know, we want to continue to be that place for families to go to and to welcome someone in from out of town or celebrate anniversaries. We wanted to still be that place, and so we had to try as much as we could to keep our prices down and just be fair. And so it was a challenge for sure. We went through a lot, especially with the light rail too. You know, it was very much a destination location. You had to be really craving Ponchos to drive through and weave through all of the barricades down Central. And so
I come through Fremont because I taught down the street.
So you know the back roads.
Yes.
Exactly. I think people sure the residents on Fremont were just loving that everyone was taking that route to get here, but honestly, we couldn't be more grateful for this community and beyond for the love and support that they showed us through that tough time. And we're super busy right now. It's been wonderful, but it was a really tough, probably about 6 years during the light rail, COVID, and all of that. And so we couldn't be more grateful for all the love that was shown to us during that time.
As we get ready to close out, okay, there's Ponchos, there's sombreros, and there's Isabel's de Amor. I've been out to, I think, Val Vista and Child Boulevard.
Yes.
So what made that happen as we close out?
Yeah, so, you know what, I think that just really honoring my Nana Isabel and her love for bringing people together. And I think that, you know, we had this restaurant here named Poncho, and then, but it's my Nana's recipes, her hard work, her love of bringing people together and love of community. We just really wanted to honor her and do something a little bit different. And Isabel's is another really special place, and it's in, you know, the East Valley, where we're, you know, kind of near where we grew up, where my brother's family lived. And so he and his wife Julie, like, they really helped to get Isabel's going and all of that. And we used the recipes, my Nana Isabel's recipes, and a lot of our employees from Sombreros, some even from Ponchos, and we were able to open that. And once again, it's just really to just honor my grandparents for all of their hard work and their sacrifice and everything that they did. And at the end of the day, I think it's just so rewarding for us as a family to be able to see all of the lives that have been touched through my Nana's cooking. And I think it's something, you know, she actually unfortunately passed away just a couple months before we opened the very first Sombreros location. So she never got to see a Sombreros, but we always have such peace in our hearts knowing that her legacy lives on every day through her recipes. And, you know, so many people come together. She brings people together through her food. And so we're super honored about that.
Do you have siblings?
I do. I have an older brother, Tim, and then I have a younger sister, my sister Jenny Lynn. So,
well, shout out to them to be a part of this. I want to thank you for letting us do this interview, and I want to tell you, this salsa here is the best.
Thank you.
I mean, this is the best salsa, and like I told you off camera, teachers used to gather here for special informative meetings on Fridays. So this is a good spot for Roosevelt School District.
I love that. And we love our schools and we love our teachers. So I'm so glad that you guys could come here at the end of a long week, teaching all those rowdy students maybe at the end of the week need to come maybe have a little margarita and blow off some steam, or just gather together and have your meetings and stuff like that. So I'm glad that we could be a part of that for you guys.
I want to thank you, and maybe we'll come back again and visit you soon.
Thank you so much for being here. We appreciate you.
This is Irma coming to you from Ponchos, not Ponchos, but from Ponchos on South Central. Come visit them. Come check out their menu. Come check out the margaritas. And occasionally they even have music. So come out, come visit, and thank you for staying informed with Arizona Barrio Stories, Latino USA TV media. Thank you, and we will see you soon.
Grew up in the barrio, con el alma de mi gente, sí. Became a storyteller, y en la sala cuánta historia de